So we finally arrived at the moment of truth here. I've got everything in order now. Managed to get a hold of the winner, and as the contest went on for the period of the month that I set it, I started thinking about different things, and as I got more and more entries, I decided to sort of enlarge the scope without telling anyone about it. So let me just explain a little bit about that. It was interesting when I first announced this. A lot of people wrote to me privately, and on the video itself, you can see the comments about how they were kind of cynical about me doing this because they thought that people would, write me sob stories that were complete fabrications just to try and get a symbol that they wanted. Now, I wasn't too frightened that was going to happen or concerned. And like I said, as the entries came in, I did quite a bit of due diligence on researching to find out whether these people were full of shit or not. And I only found two that I could confirm had not even completely made up things, but let's say embellished on things, made circumstances that were familiar to them from their relatives to themselves or to their immediate family, sort of change them urban legends into their own situations, things like that. I did not scold these people. I didn't write them back and say, hey, you're lying to me or whatever. I just merely put them in my reject mailbox. So all in all, I think it was a good experience to go through this. I got about 130 entries out of, I think, 1,400 people viewed the video, so that's almost 10% of people that viewed it gave me input and actually took time to write a paragraph or two, some many more. And I was also nicely surprised that almost everyone who wrote was a young up-and-coming drummer. It wasn't 40-year-old people saying, hey, man, I want a cymbal. It was mostly, 12 to 20-year-old guys who are just learning or have played for quite a while and they need more equipment. They can't afford it because they're kids, and they don't have money, and a lot of places you can't work until you're 16, so it's not no fault of their own, or their parents are having hardships or what have you. Anyway, I read it all, I heard it all, and I based my end result. I'm going to mention the top 6 stories because in the end, those were the 6 stories that were all different and yet all compelling in their own way, and they all had I put those in a special mailbox called Top Contenders. I basically divided all the entries I got that as I got them into Top Contenders, possible, rejects, and humorous. I got quite a few humorous stories that were obviously not asking for the symbol, but very good stories nonetheless, and I'll mention some of those too. So let's announce the winner. The winner is Justin Mazes, or Mazes. I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, and he lives in Victoria, BC, Canada, and he's 20 years old. And the second place winner is Alex Daigle. He lives on Cape Breton Island in a place called Port Hawkesbury. That's in Nova Scotia, in Canada as well. So we got the far extremes of Canada represented in the top 2. The third person was a young fellow named David Broadley from Scotland, who is going to be 15 in a few weeks. The fourth place was a guy named Phil Ross. I'm not sure where he's from or how old he is. The fifth place was Aaron Knight, who's 13 years old, and he is in Iowa. Iowa City, I believe, in Iowa. And the sixth place was a guy named John Perlett. I'm not sure where he was from either, but judging from what he said, I'm assuming he's around 18 or so, because he said he was a senior in high school. So those are the top 6 contenders. I got about 130 entries, as I said. And the base, when I started the contest, I didn't really have a firm kind of idea of what the criteria was going to be to select. But as I got more and more entries, I developed 3 main criteria. And the first one being that you honestly were in need of the cymbal, or for good reasons you wanted a cymbal that you couldn't afford yourself. So a demonstrated inability to buy it yourself for one reason or another was an important factor, but not a necessary factor. A second one was your love of music and drumming and drum equipment, and demonstrated sincerity about taking care of the instrument and things like that. The third one was a potential to do something with it, whatever that might be, apart from selling it on eBay or, putting it up for auction or something like that. And I just ruled out grammar and things like that altogether. It was not a factor, because I just don't, when I'm reading stuff in email these days, it's a hopeless case to try and correct anyone or to try and expect literacy. So if you had a semblance of literacy, it gave you a better chance, but I didn't penalize people for not knowing how to spell words, or using short forms like you are for you are, things like that. That wasn't a big deal. So I took the high road on that one, and against every inch of my teacher's instinct as far as the English language went, I just didn't concern myself for that. So there you go with the 6 winners, or the 6 top contenders, I should say, and the winners. And now I'm going to go on and describe why I chose those. So if you're bored already, you can tune out, because you already know who won, and you already know if you won or didn't win. So now you'll have to listen to my voice for another 10 minutes or so if you continue watching. So there you have it. We'll go on to the next part.